Incredible journey. When a single mom slept on a CEO's shoulder, an unexpected transformation was set to unfold. Jenna slumped against the cold, metal pole of the crowded train, fully aware of her exhaustion. Each shift as a waitress and a nighttime clerk frayed her nerves further. With her head accidentally resting on the shoulder of a stranger, she felt a fleeting moment of comfort. Then the reality of her life slammed back into focus. Her son Kyle's dream of attending a prestigious university gnawed her relentlessly. The sheer weight of her financial strain felt like boulders pressing down. A soft, coarse fabric brushed against her cheek, and she instinctively turned. The stranger's shoulder felt foreign, but inexplicably, a spark of connection flickered between them. As the train rattled beneath them, Jenna's eyes fluttered open, her heart still racing from a mix of weariness and the desire to stitch together a future for Kyle. Their eyes met. The man's were a deep blue, sharply dressed, completely absorbed in his phone. An acute pang of jealousy twisted in her gut. "Sorry about that long day," Jenna murmured, the words barely escaping her lips. A hesitant smile lingered as she considered the stark contrast of their lives. He met her gaze, his demeanor shifting from indifference to curiosity. "I can relate, believe me." They began to chat, the city lights streaming past, weaving a tapestry of lives so different yet strangely connected. Jenna shared her dreams for Kyle, revealing the depth of her determination beneath the weary layers of her existence. With every word, Mark the CEO saw the tenacity that once drove him in his youth, igniting something between them. He recognized a strength he admired yet feared. It was the path he'd walked, the fights he'd fought, but without the responsibility of a child on his shoulders. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Yet as their conversation deepened, Jenna's spirit faltered, a flicker of doubt clouded her heart. What if this moment, this spark of promise, was merely a mirage? She was a single mother juggling multiple jobs. What could her aspirations mean against the suffocating weight of skepticism from friends who would question her ambition? "You?" they would say with pity galore, planting seeds of self-doubt that twisted in her gut like barbed wire. A shift in Mark's expression caught her eye, showcasing empathy that was almost palpable. He saw her potential, but could she see it too? As he offered guidance on finding her footing in a world she hadn't yet dared to enter, Jenna felt both exhilarated and sickened by the possibility. A path to a new life loomed tantalizingly close, yet the thought of Kyle, relying so heavily on her, anchored her ambitions in fear. Would she fail him? Would she be letting down the very son she fought for? The train's jolt ripped through her thoughts, jolting her back into reality. The stakes seemed insurmountable. How could she hope to balance the responsibilities tied to motherhood with the ambition stirring within her? Torn memories of late-night study sessions and college dreams echoed in her mind like a siren's call, yet practical obligations choked the sound. Mark's gaze settled back on his screen, and Jenna felt the distance grow, the warmth from moments ago dissipating. She stood at a precipice, grappling with the chasm between her current life and the ambition she suddenly craved. The tension crescendoed within her, the weight of expectation clawing at her resolve, leaving a lingering question that hung in the air: would she dare to grasp a future, knowing the risks involved? In that fraught moment, Jenna sat silently, the familiar ding of the train's arrival echoing her fears. Would she step forward, or retreat once again into the shadows of what's expected? The train lurched to a stop, jolting Jenna from her spiraling thoughts. She blinked, trying to gather her wits. Before her lay the city, pulsing with life and possibility, and yet she felt anchored, shackled by fear and self-doubt. As other passengers filed past her, their conversations faded into a blur. Mark's parting words lingered in her mind, a haunting echo of encouragement and challenge. Could she truly navigate this maze of ambition and responsibility? Stepping off the train, she inhaled sharply. The brisk air pierced her senses, and for a moment, she felt an urgency that surged through her, igniting the embers of determination that lay dormant within. It wasn't enough to just think about a better future, she needed to act. And that meant confronting her fears head-on. When she arrived home, Kyle was sitting at the kitchen table, studying diligently. His furrowed brow mirrored the weight on her own. She set her bag down with a thud, instantly catching his attention. "Mom, you okay?" he asked, glancing up from his notes. Jenna forced a smile, determined to mask her turmoil. "Just a long day, buddy," she said, ruffling his hair. Yet as she watched him, a flicker of hope ignited in her. He was doing what she once aspired to do, and that dream now felt within reach again, if not for herself, then for him. Would it be selfish to allow herself ambition? As days passed, Jenna found herself replaying her encounter with Mark, the CEO, in her mind, dissecting every fragment of their conversation. He had seen potential in her. She could conquer more than just her current responsibilities. Each evening after her shifts, she stole moments for herself reading business articles, exploring free online courses that could align with her interests, forging a vision for her future that felt more attainable by the day, but perceptions from her friends began to creep back in, thick and sticky like molasses. "Don't bite off more than you can chew," they warned, as if her dreams were a dangerous leap into an abyss. Could they really understand? Their words transformed into a nagging discomfort that trailed her. It gnawed at her resolve, festering and taking root in the corners of her mind. That Saturday, as sunlight streamed in through the window, Jenna decided it was time to confront her fears once and for all. She dusted off her laptop, her heart thrumming with both trepidation and excitement. She typed networking events for entrepreneurs into the search bar. Each click sent ripples of anxiety through her, but she pressed on. The signs were everywhere. She could see them reflected in her son's ambitions and in her own burgeoning desires. If Mark could face the unknown, so could she. She began drafting an email to a local business group, introducing herself, their aligned interests, and asking about attending their next meetup. The feeling of vulnerability flooded her, but it was juxtaposed with an exhilarating thrill. Jenna didn't want to just be a waitress or a clerk. She wanted to create opportunities for Kyle, to set an example. Each keystroke was less about fear and more about potential, a momentous shift. As she clicked send, there was no turning back. As the confirmation email appeared in her inbox, she felt an unfamiliar weight lift from her shoulders. Could it be that this was the first step toward transformation? She was no longer just surviving, she was beginning to thrive. But with this shift came an unsettling realization: she could not carve this path alone. She needed mentorship, wisdom, and, perhaps, Marcus' insights once again. The thought of reaching out to him sent a jolt of adrenaline through her. Would he be willing to offer guidance? As she wrestled with this decision, anticipation brewed within. The next chapter of her life was unfolding, but would she have the courage to embrace it fully? And as she prepared to take the next step, Jenna was left contemplating one crucial question: was she ready to connect with the very person who had ignited this change? Jenna stared at her laptop screen, the cursor blinking as if it echoed the anxiety pounding in her chest. The choice to contact Mark loomed before her, a threshold she had to cross. Would he remember her? Did her brief encounter resonate enough for him to want to invest his time in her? Pushing aside the surge of doubt, she began to outline her thoughts. "Dear Mark," she typed carefully, feeling each word as she crafted her message like moldable clay. She expressed gratitude for his encouragement, shared snippets of her recent endeavors, and tentatively invited him to coffee for advice. With every sentence, the fluttering in her stomach lessened, replaced by a burgeoning sense of purpose. This was her first proactive step in seeking guidance, a critical move toward unearthing her potential. As she sat back, a sense of calm washed over her. Perhaps she was more ready than she had allowed herself to believe. That afternoon, while waiting for her shift to start at the diner, she immersed herself in a business podcast. The host spoke passionately about entrepreneurship, recounting stories of triumph over various challenges. Jenna hung on every word, each narrative breathing life into her dreams and fostering a resolve that had been absent before. Across the room, a regular patron, Mr. Thompson, noticed her rapt attention. "You seem invested, Jenna." "You have that look," he said, a knowing smile creasing his face. "What do you mean?" she asked, caught off guard. "Ambition. You're ready to take a leap, aren't you?" His words burrowed deep. Was it that obvious? A mixture of shame and pride washed over her. "I'm thinking about making some changes," she admitted, allowing a wry smile to emerge. "Then don't hesitate. The world rewards those who have the courage to pursue their passion, he advised, raising his coffee cup in a silent toast. That brief exchange ignited a fire within her. If strangers could recognize her ambition, perhaps she needed to start believing in herself fully. After her shift, Jenna took a walk around the city, soaking in its vibrancy. Each glimmering storefront and lively street corner transformed from familiar scenery into motivation cues, reminders of where she could be headed. Once home, she settled beside Kyle, who lounged on the couch, glued to his assignment. Watching him, her heart swelled. He was dedicated, tirelessly pursuing his goals. "What are you working on?" she asked. "Just some research for my business plan," he replied, eyes shining with excitement. "But it's tough, Mom. I don't know if I can do it." "Of course, you can," Jenna insisted, leaning in to instill confidence in her son. "You've got this. If you put your heart into it, there's no limit." Those words hung in the air, an echo of her own unspoken fears. Talking to Kyle felt cathartic, a reminder that they were on parallel journeys. As the evening drew on, Jenna's phone buzzed. Mark's reply flashed across the screen, a simple, "I would love to catch up. Let us discuss your thoughts over coffee." The gasp that escaped her lips startled Kyle, who looked up with curiosity. "Is everything okay?" "Yes. More than okay," Jenna replied, her excitement palpable. She had connected with him. It was a small victory, but one that felt monumental. The thought of their meeting filled her with both anticipation and hesitation. What if she struggled to find words? What if he didn't resonate with her newfound aspirations? Distractions consumed her thoughts as she prepared for the coffee meeting, weighing her professional challenges against her personal aspirations. The time had come to face not only Mark but the very essence of her fears, the fear of inadequacy, of admitting vulnerability, of risking disappointment. As Jenna sat on the lopsided diner stool with her heart racing, she realized this encounter could set the trajectory for the life she envisioned for herself and Kyle. Yet introspection was muddled by an unsettling undercurrent. Could she truly voice her ambitions to someone like him? What if he saw through her, unveiling the self-doubt hidden beneath her resolve? Each moment stretched like elastic, every tick of the clock intensifying her resolve, and as she awaited his arrival, another question lingered dangerously on the edge of her mind. What revelations about herself would this meeting uncover? The bell above the diner door jingled, pulling Jenna from her spiraling thoughts. Mark stepped in, scanning the bustling room until his eyes met hers. His smile was warm, instantly dispelling some of her apprehension. She stood up, lifting her hand in a half-wave, and felt an unexpected surge of confidence. Maybe she wasn't just an ordinary waitress chatting with a successful businessman, maybe she was an aspiring entrepreneur ready to embrace her dreams. "Jenna!" Mark greeted, his voice brimming with enthusiasm as he approached. "Great to see you again. I'm glad we could meet." "Thanks for coming," Jenna replied, trying to keep her voice steady. They opted for a booth tucked in the corner, a quieter space that allowed for deeper conversation. As they settled in, Mark leaned slightly forward, demonstrating genuine interest. "I read your message," he began, "and I'm curious about your recent endeavors. What's on your mind?" Jenna's heart raced, but her determination surged. This was it. "I've been thinking a lot about starting my own business," she confessed, feeling the weight of her words lift as she spoke them aloud. "I have this idea, but I'm not sure how to turn it into reality." Mark nodded, a glimmer of encouragement in his eyes. "That's fantastic. What kind of business are you envisioning?" She took a breath, feeling a mixture of excitement and vulnerability. "I want to create a platform for local artists to showcase their work, something that helps them reach a wider audience. I don't know where to start." The admission left her feeling exposed, yet undeniably relieved. "Starting is always the hardest part," Mark agreed, his tone earnest. "Have you thought about your target market? Or how you'll promote it?" Jenna leaned back, navigating through her scattered thoughts. "Not really. I've been so focused on the concept that I haven't mapped out the logistics. It's daunting." "A common struggle," he replied thoughtfully. "What if we break it down? Small steps can lead to monumental changes." He pulled out his notebook, scribbling notes that felt like lifelines being thrown her way. As he guided her through brainstorming, she felt the nervousness begin to fade. The conversation shifted from uncertainty to exploration. Each question he posed compelled her to delve deeper into her ambitions. By the time they moved on to potential marketing strategies, Jenna found herself enthusiastically recounting her vision, her earlier doubts evaporating. Marcus' insights were invaluable. He emphasized the importance of building a personal brand alongside the business, teaching her about networking and how to engage with local businesses. "You're going to need supporters in your journey," he advised. "Collaboration often unlocks opportunities." Every strategy he articulated resonated, sparking a fire within her. Jenna was beginning to see her dreams as tangible possibilities rather than distant fantasies. With each passing moment, she recognized that this meeting was not only about seeking advice, it was about claiming her identity as someone capable of achieving her goals. As the conversation flowed, Jenna's thoughts drifted momentarily to Kyle. She envisioned her son seeing her pursue her passion, setting the standard for his own aspirations. It filled her with a newfound determination. If she wanted him to chase his goals, she had to pave the way with her own actions. Just as she was about to voice her thoughts to Mark, he paused, looking at her intently, as if he could sense the epiphany brewing inside her. "Jenna," he stated, "I can see the spark in you. Just remember, every successful entrepreneur faces setbacks. It's about how you respond that defines you." His words echoed in her mind, sharpening her focus. It wasn't just about the fear of failure, but about resilience. Thinking of the potential roadblocks made her stomach twist, but she reined in her anxiety. "What if I fail?" she asked cautiously, testing his wisdom. "Then you learn. Each setback is simply a lesson," he responded, leaning back as if his words would settle into her very core. "And if you ever need support, don't hesitate to reach out. I'd be glad to help further." In that moment, Jenna felt the weight of her aspirations shift. She wasn't just seeking guidance, she was claiming her path. This meeting had unlocked a new level of understanding that opened infinite possibilities. As they wrapped up, promises of follow-up conversations exchanged, a sense of urgency ignited within her. She couldn't let this momentum fizzle out, she needed to act quickly. Walking out into the bustling streets, Jenna felt like a phoenix rising. The colors and sounds around her pulsed with new life. Her dream was no longer just a flicker of light, it was an inferno blazing ahead. The thought of calling on the artists she admired ignited a thrill, but deep down, Jenna recognized another battle awaited her. Would she be able to connect with them authentically, or would her insecurities shadow her intentions? Each step she took pushed her closer to an exhilarating and terrifying truth. What awaited Jenna on her journey was a revelation she had yet to uncover, one that would challenge not only her professional aspirations but could redefine her entire identity. And as she stepped into the world outside the diner, a singular thought echoed in her mind: what unforeseen challenges lay ahead, and would she be ready to meet them head-on? Jenna's pulse quickened as she navigated the crowded streets, her thoughts racing far ahead of her feet. The rush of adrenaline propelled her deeper into the heart of the city, where art galleries and cafes flanked the sidewalks like a gallery of possibilities. Yet, with each vibrant storefront, a fresh wave of self-doubt threatened to unravel her newfound determination. Deciding to take action, Jenna pulled out her phone and scrolled through her contacts, searching for familiar names, the local artists she had conversed with at community events. Suddenly, she came across Emily's number, an illustrator known for her whimsical designs that echoed the struggles and beauty of everyday life. Should she reach out? What if Emily was busy or uninterested in her idea? The insecurity bubbled up, but Jenna pushed it down, focusing instead on the risks of inaction. She steadied herself, heart thumping, and pressed call before she could talk herself out of it. As the ringing echoed in her ear, a familiar sense of expectation swirled within her. "Jenna!" Emily's cheerful voice greeted her. "What's up?" "Hi, Emily. I'm glad I caught you. I've been thinking about a project, something that could really help local artists like us. Do you have a moment to chat?" "That sounds intriguing." "I'm all ears," Emily replied, enthusiasm framing her words. As Jenna laid out her vision, she noticed her anxiety gradually dissipating. Emily listened intently, offering insight and feedback that only fueled Jenna's passion further. They discussed the logistics, the potential audience, and how they could collaborate to create something distinctive. Each suggestion Emily made added layers to Jenna's vision and carved paths she hadn't considered before. Toward the end of the conversation, Jenna couldn't help but feel a pang of fulfillment. She had taken that critical step forward, and the validation she received from Emily reinvigorated her confidence. But as she hung up, a thought crept in: what if others didn't share Emily's enthusiasm? What if Jenna's ambition was just another fleeting fantasy? The internal conflict intensified as she left a nearby coffee shop after grabbing a quick pick-me-up. The sense of unity she felt with Emily contrasted sharply with her lingering fears. She wondered how she would find more collaborators. Who else would believe in her concept? The insecurity of not being taken seriously, of not being enough, loomed larger than the concrete buildings surrounding her. That evening, after a long day at the diner, Jenna spread her notes across the kitchen table. Ideas cluttered the surface, yet a nagging uncertainty dulled her focus. Kyle sat nearby, absorbed in his own homework, but the sight of him stirred something within her. If she could harness her dream, if she could make it real, what message would that send him? Would he grow up seeing dreams as something worth chasing? Taking a deep breath, she pressed her pen on the paper and began outlining concrete steps. Identify more artists. Create a website. Reach out to local businesses. As she wrote, she sensed a shift. Each point felt like a breakthrough, a tiny victory against the doubt that had previously stifled her strength. Jenna's momentum accelerated. She decided to attend a local art show the next weekend. Not only would she be exposed to more artists, but she could also showcase her vision of collaboration. The thought sent a thrill through her, blending excitement with the ever-looming question of whether she could engage these creative souls without faltering. As Jenna fell into a restless sleep that night, uncertainty mingled with dreams of vibrant art and laughter, a world breathing with potential. Yet, the deeper realization stirred in her subconscious a lingering fear of rejection, questioning her strategy and the validity of her dream. And as she drifted deeper into sleep, a singular whisper echoed through her mind: could she overcome not only the external barriers ahead but also the internal ones, the murmurings of inadequacy threatening to derail her hopes? Morning arrived with a subdued light filtering through Jenna's window, casting gentle shadows over the scattered notes still strewn across the kitchen table. She blinked into consciousness, her grip on her dreams fading like mist. Yet a new resolve began to crystallize within her. The art show loomed over her thoughts, and excitement buzzed beneath her skin. Jenna knew she had a window of opportunity to connect with other artists, to turn her ambition into action. Yet, her hope was laced with anxiety. What if her idea didn't resonate? What if she faltered in front of those who might judge her? After breakfast, Jenna pulled on a comfortable outfit, determined to present herself with confidence. She chose a bright scarf as her only splash of color, something to mark her presence in a crowd. Standing before the mirror, she practiced her introductions, scrutinizing her expression for determination, willing the uncertainty to diminish. With a final deep breath, she stepped out, her heart a mix of fluttering dread and anticipatory thrill. Once she arrived at the art show, the atmosphere enveloped her, a vibrant tapestry of colors, sounds, and an undercurrent of creativity. With each step down the gallery, Jenna felt both drawn toward and intimidated by the artistic displays. The eclectic array of styles and mediums pulsated with life, and Jenna could hardly remember why she had doubted herself. As she made her rounds, her initial apprehension began to dissipate. She approached the first booth, a painter with a wall of landscapes, each evoking a different mood. They chatted about technique and style, and Jenna found herself opening up about her vision. The artist, a charming man named Leo, leaned in, captivated by her enthusiasm. "This is brilliant," he said. "I would love to collaborate. Let us create something that reflects our journeys, you know? Art is shared experience." Warmth surged through Jenna, a flash of validation coursed through her veins. They exchanged contact information, Jenna feeling like a new pathway had just opened for her. The thrill of connection washed away doubt, transforming it into blossoming determination. Further along, Jenna encountered a sculptor with a striking piece that mirrored struggle and perseverance. Eleanor, the sculptor, listened intently as Jenna shared her project. "The art community thrives on collaboration," Eleanor said. "The more voices, the richer the story. Count me in." With each conversation, Jenna connected not only with established artists but also budding talents. They each contributed to her vision, paving avenues she had yet to explore. At that moment, it dawned on her the fear of rejection had been a mountain looming in her mind, but within this creative space, it dissolved like fog. With the hours flying by, Jenna gathered the cards of various artists interested in collaborating. Her breath caught, the vibrant heart of her project was beginning to pulse with life, the outlines of her ambitious dream steadily filling out. However, the flip side of elation was uncertainty. What if these collaborative efforts sputtered out? Or worse, what if her unpolished idea, once put to the test, fell flat? Could this momentum last long enough for her to weave together the intricate web of artists and ideas? As the evening wrapped up and the crowd started to thin, Jenna stood on the cusp of a breakthrough. The thrill of potential collided with stubborn insecurity, igniting a fire within her. It dawned on her how much she needed this. Someday, she would create an event where artists could come together to share and support each other, just like they had today. If only she could maintain the courage to push through. Later, as she headed home, Jenna clutched the stack of business cards tightly in her hand, a physical representation of her new network. Her heart swelled with hope but also trembled with the weight of responsibility. The echoes of her doubts resurfaced, demanding attention. Tonight would be filled with planning, yet lingering questions remained. What would be her next step with these newfound partners? Would she have the courage to reach out, once again inviting both hope and potential vulnerability? As she settled down to pore over her notes and thoughts, a new question emerged, filling the room with a palpable tension. Could her dream bring together artists in a meaningful way, or would it ultimately be an unfulfilled aspiration she dared to chase? Jenna's thoughts snowballed into a frenzy as she sat at her kitchen table, surrounded by her scattered notes and business cards. The silence of the night was deafening, punctuated only by the frantic tapping of her pen against the tabletop. Ideas tumbled in and out of her mind, some brilliant and others disjointed. The sheer volume was overwhelming. Determined to regain control, she pushed her laptop into position, its screen glowing gently in the dim light. Perhaps the digital space would offer clarity. She drafted an email to Leo first, allowing herself to ponder the possibilities of their collaboration. Her fingers hesitated over the keyboard. What if his enthusiasm waned? What if it turned out he only saw her as another name on a list? The thought clawed at her confidence. Shaking her head, Jenna remembered the warmth she felt during their conversation. She allowed that warmth to guide her hand, pouring her vision into words. Sharing her concept felt liberating, yet each sentence felt like a tightrope walk, a delicate balancing act between ambition and fear. With Leo's email dispatched, Jenna moved to Eleanor's contact. They had shared a connection that felt amplified, like they spoke the same language of artistic struggle. As she began to write, Jenna's resolve solidified. If Eleanor shared her own experiences, perhaps it would inspire Jenna to be even bolder. Time evaporated as emails whirred through the ether. Each message sent melted an ounce of her trepidation. But with each click of send, a heightened sense of responsibility crept over her. She was not merely reaching out to individuals, she was initiating a movement, a collective of artistic expression dependent on collaboration. The prospect was exhilarating yet daunting. Seeking refuge from her racing thoughts, Jenna stood to pour a cup of tea. The act itself, pouring boiling water over leaves, watching the colors swirl and deepen, became a meditation. While waiting, she caught sight of her reflection in the kitchen window, framed by the night. It hit her, this was about more than just art or community. It was about her identity, her ability to carve out a place in a world that often felt dismissive. As sipping her tea, a moment of clarity sparked in her mind. Jenna grabbed a fresh piece of paper and fervently penned her thoughts. Perhaps she should lead a brainstorming session with her new network, where they could map out their artistic visions together. The idea ignited something within her, a flicker of the leader she yearned to become. As she curated her notes into what she envisioned as a unique workshop, doubt still lingered like an unwelcome shadow. What if the artists considered her ideas trivial? What if her attempts to lead felt forced? But as quickly as the doubts arose, she anchored herself to the potential of forging a unique experience for all involved. With renewed energy, Jenna compiled her notes, albeit with an edge of trepidation. There was still much work to be done before she could send out invitations to her proposed workshop. The questions weighed heavily. How could she structure the session? How could they each contribute while also enhancing her vision? As she prepared for bed, Jenna glanced at the growing pile of business cards, symbols of her fledgling aspirations and fears. Each one represented a potential partnership, a connection that could either flourish or fade. In that moment, the stakes felt monumental. What if this journey led her to discover a strength she had yet to confront, one that could propel her forward in ways she had only just begun to imagine? The shadows in her mind thickened again, tugging her back to the uncertainty mounted before her. For the first time, she realized a powerful truth: all the fears she faced were simply signposts along the path she was creating. Taking one last look at her notes, she grappled with the weighty question: was she ready to genuinely step into the role she envisioned for herself, to fight against her insecurities, and embrace this possibility fully? With the dawn of a new day dawning within her thoughts, she resolved to rise to the challenge. As she finally slid into bed, the anticipation of the unknown was akin to electricity, the excitement of a spark ready to ignite. With new plans forming in her mind, she drifted into sleep, unmoored yet hopeful. The next morning, she would have to confront not only the task of organizing but also the fear of putting herself at the helm. What if the culmination of her efforts unraveled into a situation that exposed her vulnerabilities? How much further could she push herself before she reached her limits? Jenna awoke with a start, the early light spilling into her room like a promise. The weight of the day ahead pressed against her chest, filling her with a tight mixture of anxiety and determination. Today was different. Today she would step into the role she had envisioned for herself. With determination ignited, she washed her face, the cool water washing away remnants of doubt. After a quick breakfast, her nerves fluttered as she sorted through her notes. She needed a clear plan. The format of the workshop began to take shape, but a still voice nagged at the back of her mind. Was she organizing this for herself or the hope of validation from the others? As she pondered the question, she could feel a tension coiling in her stomach, pushing her to rethink her motivations. She grabbed her phone and called Leo. While the ringtone echoed in her ear, Jenna's heart raced. They hadn't discussed logistics, merely ideas and enthusiasm. What if this support wouldn't translate into commitment? As the call connected, she could hear his upbeat voice already. "Hey, Jenna. Excited to hear what's next." "Hi, Leo. I'm really glad you're on board. I've been thinking about how we can structure the workshop, get everyone involved, but I need your input." Her words tumbled out in a rush. As Leo shared his insights, her initial confidence swelled. He was not just interested but invested, sparking an interaction that sparked new ideas in her mind. They discussed themes: creative freedom, vulnerability in art, the balance between self-expression and technical skill. Each concept resonated, magnifying her vision for a transformative experience. Yet, despite this productive conversation, Jenna's doubts persisted. What if it all fell apart? What if the artists felt she was merely an amateur untangling their established practices? After hanging up, Jenna knew it was time to act. She crafted an agenda with precision, every bullet point aimed at nurturing collaboration while fostering a safe space for self-expression. The thought of introducing her ideas to others now felt invigorating rather than intimidating. But would they accept her as their leader? With each stroke of her pen, Jenna set intentions for the session. She decided on icebreakers, discussions, and a shared creative project, elements that would encourage an atmosphere of camaraderie and collective creativity. The responsibility of orchestrating this workshop ignited a newfound sense of purpose. As she printed the agenda, a sudden thought struck her. Leading was more than just sharing her vision, it was about guiding others through their uncertainties. Would she be strong enough to facilitate challenging conversations when vulnerability surfaced? That evening, Jenna gathered her notes and reflected on her day. Each effort was laced with intention, every decision a choice to stand taller. Yet deep within, the question lingered when doubts emerged: would she be equipped to foster resilience in others, especially when her own resolve would be tested? Feeling drained, Jenna poured herself a glass of water and stared out of her window. The soft glow of the setting sun reminded her of the safety within her light. She'd have to embrace both her confidence and her fears. As she sat, processing what lay ahead, a new resolve settled in. Maybe this journey was as much about others seeing their potential as it was about her own self-discovery. Would the real challenge come from within? The thought rattled her. She needed to be prepared to confront the darkness that might whisper doubts during moments of exposure and realness. As she closed her notes, Jenna realized that the workshop wasn't merely about art but a finding of strength in artistry and authenticity. Tomorrow would be the day of the workshop, and she knew the moment was approaching where she'd either soar or stumble spectacularly. How would she face resistance if it arose, particularly if it was not only from others but from herself? As clarity settled in, Jenna took a deep breath, ready to embrace whatever came, knowing that either way, she was stepping into the unknown. The true test would begin at the workshop. Would she rise to the challenge, leading with both her heart and her vulnerabilities? The morning arrived wrapped in an ambience of nervous excitement. As Jenna stepped into the studio, her heart raced, a percussion of apprehension echoing in her chest. The vibrant colors of the artwork lining the walls juxtaposed against her internal tumult, a kaleidoscope of emotions swirling inside her. Everything felt heightened, from the smell of fresh paint to the chatter of participants arriving with their own hopes and insecurities. She inhaled deeply, grounding herself. She was here to lead, to inspire. Jenna glanced at the clock, each tick amplifying the urgency seeping into her thoughts. What if she faltered? The self-doubt that had slumbered through her meticulous preparation stirred awake, threatening to bubble to the surface. Remember why you're here, Jenna whispered to herself as she unfolded her agenda, the crisp paper crackling in the silence of her contemplation. Her fingers skimmed over the notes she had painstakingly crafted, and she felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. Sensing the energy of the space, she thought about how these individuals, each carrying their own stories, would respond to her leadership. Would they open up to her vision? People began to gather, exchanging eager and hesitant glances. Jenna observed their varied expressions. The excited nervousness of newcomers mingled with the skepticism of seasoned artists. In that moment, she realized the essential nature of her role, to create a bridge, to connect disparate emotions into a tapestry of shared experiences. Welcome, everyone. Jenna opened, her voice steady despite the rush of her heartbeat. The faces turned toward her, some were smiling, but others held guarded expressions. Each moment was a potential turning point. Today's workshop is about embracing vulnerability and exploring creativity together. As she spoke, Jenna consciously leaned into her uncertainty instead of retreating from it. Sharing her own journey, the challenges she had faced as both an artist and an individual, she noticed an immediate shift in the room. The barriers slowly began to dissolve, laughter punctuating her narrative. But as discussions progressed, the shadows of reluctance cloaked the room once more. A participant voiced hesitations about sharing personal work, fear creeping into his voice. What if it's not good enough? He asked, the vulnerability raw and palpable. Jenna recognized the pivotal moment unfolding before her. She could sense her own hesitation mirroring his. Yet she also felt the flicker of determination reignite. I used to think this way too, she admitted, her heart strumming with empathy. But art is not just about perfection. It's about expression. What if we celebrate the imperfections together? A silent connection pulsed through the group. Conversations sparked like wildfires, and her earlier doubts leaned into the background. The willingness to engage, to share, was blossoming into a collective courage. Jenna guided exercises, facilitating an environment where individuals who had feared exposure instead embraced authenticity. Throughout the day, Jenna not only observed growth in others but realized fragments of her own. She was evolving, stepping into her identity not as an authority but as a fellow artist navigating the murky waters of self-doubt. In that dynamic exchange, she discovered a strength she hadn't fully understood, the ability to hold space for vulnerability both in herself and in her peers. As the workshop culminated, Jenna found herself standing before the group, the air buzzing with transformation. Each person had journeyed toward a new realization, a shared endeavor transcending their individual fears. She felt an immense wave of pride surge through her, intermingled with a sobering awareness of her own growth. Despite her initial trepidation, she was forging a path of authenticity, leading not just by authority, but by openness. Yet, as she closed the session, a new wave of unease rolled in. What would happen next? Would this courage translate beyond the workshop walls? And could she sustain this newfound connection with her own authenticity, particularly when faced with the return of her self-doubts? These questions reverberated in her mind, intertwining with the satisfaction of today's success. Jenna realized the workshop had merely initiated the deeper exploration of her relationship with herself as an artist and leader. The stirring sensation in her gut reminded her of the road ahead, one fraught with both promise and peril. What lay beyond the workshop was uncharted territory, where her resilience would be tested. And as Jenna stepped away from those familiar walls, she wondered, would her newfound insights be able to withstand the trials of daily life? Days turned into weeks as Jenna savored the success of her workshop. Each conversation that blossomed over cups of coffee with new collaborators fueled her ambition. Artists began flocking to her vision, adding their unique strokes to the canvas she had conceptualized. Jenna felt a sense of exhilaration, a profound shift from the uncertainty that once shadowed her every move. She transformed from an everyman in the crowd to a recognized figure within her emerging network of artists. With each passing day, she stepped deeper into her role, driving meetings where collaboration thrived. She drafted the formal outline for her platform, painstakingly pulling together logistics and marketing strategies that now echoed with clarity. Each idea she penned oozed with purpose, layering richness over her ambition. No longer a mere waitress, she was a businesswoman, one who had conquered fear and insecurities to harness her true potential. One afternoon, she stood before Kyle, who had been deeply engrossed in his studies. "Mom, you seem different lately," he remarked, glancing up from his laptop. His eyes sparkled with curiosity. "Different how?" she inquired, a playful smile spreading across her face. "More alive, I guess. Like you've got something big going on." His words hung in the air like a warm embrace, igniting a spark within her. Jenna realized he was witnessing her evolution from the sidelines, perhaps even drawing inspiration for his endeavors. "I'm starting a platform for local artists. I want to create opportunities for them, just like I'm trying to do for us," Jenna said, her voice steady and brimming with excitement. "What about you? How's that business plan of yours?" Kyle's face broke into a grin. "It's almost finished. I just need to polish some details. Could I show it to you?" As he began explaining his vision, Jenna felt her heart swell with pride. Their shared journeys became intertwined as she recognized the profound impact her pursuit had upon him. Yet, amidst her triumph and newfound identity, uncertainty still lurked. Would her vision be understood in the wider community? How would she truly measure her success? The questions gnawed at her, but those doubts had transformed into fuel rather than chains. Jenna crafted opportunities, attending local art events, workshops, and meetings with potential sponsors, presenting her platform with confidence. The cohesive message flowed effortlessly from her mouth, rooted in authentic passion. One evening, Jenna unveiled the finalized concept during a presentation at a community center. She stood before a slate of eager investors, and once again, the familiar tremor of apprehension filled her. But this time, it didn't hold her captive. Her voice rang clear and persuasive. "Art has the power to connect, to inspire, and to liberate. My goal is to facilitate these rich experiences and provide local artists with a platform to grow." As she wrapped up, applause erupted around her. Discussions formed instantly, questions spiraled around logistics and timelines, opportunities flowed, and suddenly she found herself in the center of a room buzzing with potentiality. When the meeting adjourned, Jenna received word that local businesses were ready to partner with her platform, validating her hard work. Months of labor had culminated into concrete opportunities. The feeling of achievement struck her, raw and refined, a recognition that her aspirations were now a tangible reality. Back at home that evening, Kyle greeted her with his laptop still open. "Mom, I heard you knocked it out of the park today." He radiated pride, and that recognition illuminated Jenna's heart. "Thank you, kiddo," she replied, pulling him into a hug. A door had opened wide, not only for her ambitions but for his as well. "I'm proud of you for going after what you love," Kyle exclaimed, and in that moment, Jenna felt justified pride wash over her. She had embraced her journey, not only carving out a new life for herself but also inspiring her son along the way. Finally, Jenna's expectations of herself and her aspirations melded harmoniously. Her perceived fragility had strengthened into resilience, and she was no longer just surviving, she was thriving. With a deep breath, Jenna stood at the precipice of not just dreams fulfilled, but of an authentic, vibrant existence crafted from courage, relentless determination, and an indomitable spirit. This was her moment of grace, witnessing her evolution not just as an entrepreneur, but as a mother, feeding not only her ambition but also nurturing Kyle's visions. Sparks of possibilities ignited in her heart. What would she create next? And as she began piecing together plans for the future, an unwavering conviction settled within her. Hers was a journey with no end, only infinite beginnings. For you, the reader, this is the moment to embark on your own journey of transformation. Embrace it. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to subscribe now, and don't wait even one more second to share. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.